Cool, cool. We're on the second half of the level, the last 10 missions, which take up a long time, take up a lot of the level, good 30, 40 minutes. And this mission is pretty self-explanatory, just deliver everything without being seen or heard. So probably what most people thought the game was going to be like in the first place. Stay outside the blue vision cones, you know? Really basic stuff. Seems easy to us because we've been trying real hard not to get caught at all in the first place. But up until now, you could do most of the missions, you know, completely recklessly, getting caught quite a bit, and still manage to complete them or reach the point counter. Point goal, rather. But this time, you know, just don't get caught at all. Of course, getting a high score is optional, but we're going to try and do that anyway because I like seeing the number go up. It makes me feel good to see the number go up. And I like seeing the king do his weird dance. He does a different dance in every location, by the way. So it's not the same dance the whole time, don't worry about that. I've heard some people say the funny animations are a good enough reason to play this game. I don't know about that, because you're going to be seeing the funny dances, like, hundreds of times. So even though they are cute, and they do vary depending on the location, I don't think the novelty of the dances themselves is a good enough reason to play the game. I think the gameplay is a good enough reason to play the game. But maybe someone really thinks the dances are that funny. You know, I'm not going to deny that this game has some sort of ironic humor appeal to it. Obviously it does, but several dozen other people, hundreds even, have already pointed that out. Challenge complete. The restroom is for paying customers only. This is one of those situations where it really helps to memorize the order and locations in which people get hungry. As we discussed in the last video, people generally get hungry in a consistent order in consistent areas, so delivering to all these people in 30 seconds is actually quite easy after you memorize where they appear. And again, the stealth invincibility frames also help. They help a lot. I don't know, this was like kind of the first mission where I was like, oh, they're really genuinely trying to explore their mechanics as thoroughly as possible by using clever I called them enemies, by using clever customer movement patterns and forcing you to memorize them to get the maximum amount of time out of your deliveries. I guess you could still technically do these really strict time missions without memorization if you wanted to. But, I mean, you just have to turn off the part of your brain responsible for memorizing to do that, and I'm not sure why you would do that. Okay, so as a reminder, our chain goes up when we make consecutive deliveries without getting caught. So we have to make 5 consecutive deliveries in a minute where we don't get caught. We can technically get caught and still recover, you know, by redoing the chain from the start. But it's easier just to not get caught at all. The time limit is the real issue here, mostly because we can't bother trying to get too high a score when we're trying to, you know, not lose. I am absolutely driven mad with curiosity what these challenges are in universe. Like, is the king setting these challenges for himself? Some of them seem to come from, like, a need in the people. Like, sometimes it's something like, oh no, make it to all these people before they pass out, or something like that, something that serves a genuine utility. Not that giving people free food isn't serving a utility, it's a very kind-spirited thing to do, but some of the challenges are just weird. Does the king just mentally make these challenges for himself to avoid getting bored? I mean, this is all completely irrelevant because later in the game, some of the challenges joke that the developers are just, you know, making the challenges so that way there's a game, because there would be no game without the challenges. You'd just be running around giving people free food. This game does have cutscenes, by the way. Doesn't really have a story besides the king is giving people who forgot to bring food to their workplace free food. But there are some humorous cutscenes, and they try to be humorous on purpose instead of ironically. You know, as most of this game does. The game knows you think it's funny, it's doing that on purpose. Challenge complete. Choke on my nuggets, Ronald. So this challenge isn't particularly rough or anything. It's basically just a utility mission like, hey, go find 10 hiding places so that way you know where the hiding places are for future missions where you actually need to use hiding places, which is fair. I didn't need to, don't need to see the inside of the king's head. Thanks, but yeah, this really isn't difficult in the slightest. It's just, hey, go find all the interactables and press the Y button in front of them so you know they're there. It's a tutorial. You know, it's a tutorial disguised as a challenge. I'm not sure how you could consider it a challenge, really. I mean, like, maybe if this is your first time ever playing a video game, and you don't know how the control stick works, so you keep accidentally walking backwards and you run out of time that way. I feel like that could be a valid reason. Is it just me, or does the clock count down faster than actual seconds? I never really thought about that before. So you may wonder about that tree that we punched down several times. You shouldn't. Just don't think about it. It's not important. It'll become important later, not in this level, but you shouldn't think about it right now. Just enjoy the fact that we can karate punch the tree down, okay? And that nobody died when we did it, which is a real concern when you're punching down entire trees. So is it getting across that I like this game? Like, I don't have even the slightest amount of malice or distaste for this game, like, not even a little bit. I feel like it's genuinely a good game with good game design. It's really basic, but, you know, that's kind of the point. So I'm not going to fault it for that. The idea is that it's simple. That's, you know... That actually brings me to the developer of this game, Blitz Games. Because this game is, like, kind of the antithesis of them. This game is about exploring a really basic set of mechanics to its maximum potential, but normally Blitz Games makes games that are about really flashy, large variety of mechanics that don't get explored at all. So this is kind of the opposite of what they normally do in a lot of ways. But I enjoy this kind of game design a lot. I like games that explore their game design to the fullest. And this game certainly does that several times over. Mission complete. No one actually got any food. So we have to surprise two people from different hiding places, which means no camping out at just one hiding place, which normally you can actually do. Especially in the score-based missions, it can be very beneficial to camp out at just one hiding place. But we're going to use the leaf pile first, because I want you to stare at the leaf pile texture for a bit with me. This is actually the perfect position to be in, by the way, for this particular challenge. We get so much score this way. You know, I feel like if I'm able to convince you that Wrestling Revolution 3D is a good game and I genuinely like it, that being able to convince you Sneak King is a good game and I genuinely like it, that should be much easier, right? I mean, I know that I put my own narrative spin on Wrestling Revolution 3D, but that's kind of the idea behind the game, is to get really into the stories like that, the rivalries and such. You know, maybe I was wrong about not being able to camp out, because we are using the same hiding space. I wonder if the objective is broken or something. Either way, we won, even if I'm confused by the game and past me's actions. Challenge completed. Always check your leaf piles for fast food. Yes, get a 5,000 point score in a single delivery. This is baby stuff. This is just complete baby poo-poo stuff. Come on, give us something really that we can really sink our teeth into. We don't even need to use hiding places for a score of 5,000. That's absolutely nothing to us. Come on now, you're just being insulting. I can get 5,000 points without looking at the screen. Make use of hiding places, it says. Hiding places are for massive score boosts, not for this 5,000 points in one delivery baby shit. Come on. Challenge completed. Our mayonnaise is really fucking good. Alright, now we're talking. This is the stuff I came here for. Get 50,000 points in a single delivery by building up our chain counter and making use of hiding spaces. I am all for that. This is the stuff I'm here for. This is the good stuff. Jumping out of bins and giving people free food and making that sweet, sweet multiplier go up. Look at how many points we're gonna get. We're gonna get so many points. Seriously, look at this shit. 20,000. 20,000 points. Eat it, Sneak King. I'm the best at Sneak King. Come to think of it, I'm good at a lot of games no one likes, so maybe that's not something I should say if I want Sneak King to be seen in a positive light. I mean, I'm good at good games too. I'm good at Ken's Rage, for example, which is one of the bestest games. I all platinumed Max Anarchy, which is equally awesome. I once beat Alex Kidd without getting hit a single time. You know, sometimes I'm good at really good games too. It's just the really, really good, hyper-polished games aren't always the ones that need the most attention. The smaller underdog games really need to be appreciated, like Sneak King. I feel like a lot of love and care went into the design of Sneak King, and they really tried their best to make something valuable. You know, they could have gone so many different routes with this, but they decided to go with a really basic set of mechanics that guy passed out. They decided to go with a really basic set of mechanics that were fully explored across the game's length. And it's quite a bit of bang for your buck. You know, this game's a good 4 hours long. And it was, what, like $1.99, $2.99? Now, I'm not going to say this was the best of the Burger King games or anything, but it definitely got the most attention, and I feel like it's the most undervalued. Also, people think this game looks really ugly. I'm not going to say it looks nice, but how does it look to you? Because I play a lot of really old video games, so my definition of what looks nice is kind of out there. Like, when you play Grand Theft Auto Vice City and look at those Lego hands, everything starts looking nice. Graphics aren't a particular strong suit for me. Now, aesthetic and style, I like to think I'm genuinely good at analyzing those. And this game doesn't have much in the way of aesthetic or style. It's going for a more realistic look. But how does the game look to you? Like, does it look bad? Does it look adequate? It looks plain to me. It looks unremarkable. Graphically, I mean. You know, I never looked up a trailer for this game, like a gameplay trailer. And I'm kind of wondering how you would even do a gameplay trailer for a game like this, because this is a really, really simple game, based on very small number of mechanics, and it's about exploring those really small mechanics, and that's kind of hard to sell or make look good in a trailer. There are a lot of games like that, where trailers are just plain unflattering, because the game design doesn't look good in a trailer. You know, something feeling good and looking fancy, those can sometimes be related, but sometimes they aren't at all, and when they aren't related, it's really hard to make a game trailer. A lot of games with simple or predictable mechanics get by just on looking really pretty and having a lot of cinematic value to them, like looking hyper-polished, so that way the trailer gives off a much grander impression. Even if the game is humble, if your game looks pretty and grand, it can give off a bigger impression on people. And it's kind of hard to sell something that's humble and tries to explore small mechanics in small ways. So to help with that, again, a lot of style, a lot of flair, a lot of polish is necessary. There are a lot of Japanese beat-em-ups that probably wouldn't be nearly as popular if they didn't look super flashy. But the flashiness isn't where the value comes from. The value is in exploring the game mechanics. But less people would give the game a chance if it didn't look so damn flashy. And I don't think there's any way to make Sneak King look good in a trailer. You know, I try to say that you can make any game look good with the right spin on it, with the right filters, with the right angles. But I don't know how you'd make Sneak King look good in a trailer. If anyone has any ideas for that I could put to the test. Challenge complete. Walking around in circles all day must make you very hungry, sir. This one seems like a slice of cake now. Really nice slice of cake that goes down smooth. Just get one level 3 flourish, but back in the early game you may not have the best grasp of the flourish gauge yet. You know, QuickTime events can be tricky. So this may be a little bit much to ask for new players, and it's good to get them used to making level 3 flourishes, because that's going to be important later. But as someone who's played the game way too much, it's hard to register this as a challenge at all. It just doesn't even... Challenge completed. There are no free refills. Don't be greedy. Alright, this time we need to do 3 level 3 flourishes, which again is a good thing, because you need to get used to how the flourish gauge works, so it's good that these missions are here even if they seem easy now, because new players absolutely need to understand them. You know, I've seen other LPs of this game, I've seen other gameplay of this game, and I just don't get what's so fun about it to shit on. I mean, yes, I get it's really weird that the king is running around giving people free food and surprising them with it. I get that that's weird. But do you think the game doesn't know that's weird? Because it does. Burger King knows the king is weird. That's his thing. Do you see him dancing right now? That's intentionally weird. That's not an accident. I don't know, maybe the fact that it's an advert game to begin with really puts a bad taste in people's mouths, but you could call all licensed games advert games, really? I mean, the reason they exist, regardless of how much the developer wanted to make them and how good they are, the reason licensed game exists is to make money on a recognized brand, you know? And that's all Burger King is doing. You know, you can complain that they're name-dropping the Whopper and how cheesy and obviously cash grab it is to name-drop the Whopper in a video game about delivering fast food to people. But how is that any different from bringing up well-established characters that are beloved by millions when you make a licensed game? Like when you play a Spider-Man game because Spider-Man is an incredibly marketable character worth billions of dollars, do you get mad that you're playing a Spider-Man game because that's why they made it? And when Black Cat shows up, do you go like, ugh, Black Cat, this is so obviously a cash grab, like you do with the Whopper? Challenge completed. Black Cat only eats Burger King. Alright, so it's time for the final challenge of the level delivered to everyone on the map before they pass out. And well, that's it. With the exception of one guy, you should have the entire map pretty well memorized by now if you played all the other challenges. Anyway, all I'm saying is, to me, Fist of the North Star, Lost Paradise, and Sneak King started out the same conceptually. The idea was to make money on a recognized brand. It's what the developers did with that idea that matters. I play a lot of licensed games, and I'm absolutely 100% aware that licensed games are first and foremost commissioned because they think that money will be made on recognized characters. You know, I get that. But I don't care. It's the same with this Burger King game. It's not about why the game was made. It's about how the people who made it did their job. And I think they did their job well in this instance. Sometimes I forget the weird stigma around licensed games even exists, because it's just so dumb. Like, there's no reason a game can't excel or be fascinating or interesting just because it came from a license. Developers don't just see they're making a licensed game and give up. Game development as a profession, especially, you know, AAA game development not by indie studios, that's a hard profession to get in. You have to really want to be there and really want to make games. They don't just throw in the towel and collect their paycheck when they know it's a licensed game. They still try. You know, even if you can think of an unbearably bad licensed game, the chance is they still tried pretty hard to make it work. Take the B-movie game, for example. Someone obviously tried very hard to make the B-movie game work, in spite of the fact that it's a disaster. And that someone also happened to develop my favorite two Spider-Man games, so you know the world's funny like that. It's Beenox, by the way. Beenox developed it. And you know, I think maybe just a little bit, the new Spider-Man game is kind of like the Beenox developed Spider-Man games a lot. Very similar. And people seem to hate the Beenox developed games, but not the new one made by Insomniac. Which is frustrating on a personal level, but you know, whatever, just gonna let that go. We were talking about licensed games and not how much I hate people for not appreciating the Beenox Spider-Man games. You know, so what if the Amazing Spider-Man 2 video game fixed the issues with the narrative the film had, and expanded on the themes of Spider-Man as a whole, and, you know, explored concepts core to Spider-Man's character? Obviously, it's a bad game because it was based on a bad movie. That's how that fucking works, right? The game couldn't possibly have fixed the issues with the movie or anything. Except it totally did. And it's really good. I don't know why people dislike it. It's really fun. But you know, I already had the soul beaten out of me when that game launched. I pre-ordered that, and I was not disappointed. Amazing Spider-Man 2, I mean. I loved nearly every second of it. But I already had my soul beaten out of me, because when it launched, it was met with, like, scathing critical reception and consumer reception, just constantly making fun of the game and how stupid and unpolished it looked. And yeah, it could use a lot more polish, but also it's an open-world game, made in a relatively short time period, on a budget way smaller than Insomniac's Spider-Man game. So sure, it looks funny, but the game design doesn't look funny. The game design looks awesome. Because it is. The worst thing is that the game ends on a cliffhanger, and Amazing Spider-Man as a series got cancelled. Yeah, I know the movies were not so great, but the games were, and I wanted more of that. I'm not gonna say Beenox was the best thing to happen to Spider-Man, but Beenox happened to develop Edge of Time, which is one of my favorite Spider-Man games, and they also made Amazing Spider-Man 2, which I think is the best Spider-Man game narratively, and then Amazing Spider-Man 1, which I think is the second best Spider-Man game narratively. You know, the intention was during this really long final mission to talk more about Blitz games and the contrast between their normal work and Sneak King. But you know, I'm really not too sure what else to say. Normally Blitz games makes really flashy, pretty looking kids games with lots of mechanics that never get explored. This time they made a game that doesn't look very pretty, but has mechanics that do get thoroughly explored. They're just kinda opposites. Oh, I know what we can talk about. Blitz games has a very indistinguishable writing style, and I mean that in a good way. Depending on what game you're playing, their writing style changes immensely. Like, normally with developers, you can pick out some similar tropes and ideas in the writing style and dialogue, but the writing style and dialogue is massively different, depending on which Blitz game you're playing. You know, which is good, because they develop mostly licensed games. So from a business and artistic perspective, that's a really good thing. That's a really good skill to have, is to be able to change your writing style like that. You know, or hire different writers, whatever they do to get the job done, to make sure the writing fits the license. On the other hand, the one time the writing didn't fit the license, that being Pac-Man World 3, I was having a fucking blast with the dialogue and sense of humor. So I wish there was more of that. But there isn't. There's only one Pac-Man World 3. And most people seem to say that's a good thing, and I don't blame them. But I love Pac-Man World 3. I'm a Pac-Man World 3 apologist. I think it's easily one of the worst Pac-Man games, but I love it so much. We're not off topic this time, okay? Pac-Man World 3 is a Blitz Games video game, and Blitz Games also developed Sneak King. So we are perfectly on topic. We are still discussing Blitz Games, which is the developer of Sneak King, and their other game, being Pac-Man World 3. Here's that one character that you might have missed while you were doing the other missions, because there's very little reason to climb up here during the regular challenges, but you need to come up here for this challenge, because you have to feed everyone in the level, including this person that walks back and forth on this tower, and does nothing but walk back and forth on this tower, over and over. There were several ways, there were several ideas I had to approaching this final mission. The very first idea I had was to speed it up, because it's just walking around the entire level, and delivering to all 20 people, which wouldn't be super fun to watch in real time unless I had something to talk about. But then I figured, you know, you might want to see it. So I decided, what if I discuss Blitz games, their history, and Sneak King in a meta sense while I'm doing this mission. But then that devolved to talking about Spider-Man, and then we got to Pac-Man World 3, and I don't even know what we're doing now. This is an adventure. We have transcended any form of planning. Anything could come out of my mouth at any second right now. I miss the King. I really do. The King was my favorite mascot. I miss him so much. I know people thought he was creepy and unnerving. It's the idea. He's supposed to look like that. It's not an accident. Please bring the King back. I don't know where he went, but I miss him. I miss his funny commercials. My favorite commercial is the one where he steals the breakfast muffin from McDonald's headquarters. That's my favorite commercial. I miss the King so much. I feel so sad. Come back to us, King. We're nothing without you. And you know, I like the food. I like eating at Burger King. I like the Whopper. The Whopper is good. Alright, there we go. All 20 people delivered to. First level is done. Next level, the suburbs. Challenge complete. The Devil is a Part-Timer is an okay show about fast food, I guess. It's on Netflix.